That's enough about him because I know everyone's talking about it, so I did want to cover it and just address that a little bit because I just find him annoying. But let me get into the real meat and potatoes here. Let's actually talk about what is really important, which would be talking about, well, let me start off with gun control. And I don't know where you stand on that. I can make guesses, but let me ask you, where do you stand on the issue of gun control?
Of what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you clearly.
Gun control. Where do you stand on the issue
Oh,
of
of
gun
gun
control?
control.
Yeah.
Well, I live in the state of New Jersey that's like a super gun control place, and I was looking at the article that we discussed off the air,
Hmm.
uh, and of course I scrolled down to New Jersey just to take a look at all the laws. It's funny that the government doesn't seem to work quickly until something as part of the left wing agenda needs to get done. There are 124 new gun laws in 365 days seems to be a little bit ridiculous. Like they they were able to get that done, but they can't get some really basic protections done. For example, I would like to see women anyone, I shouldn't just say women, who are victims of domestic violence get expedited licenses. I'm a Second Amendment person, but I think that it's guns are the equalizer. I'm 5'2". I'm not going to reveal my weight, but I'm not a 250-pound man.
Right,
Who's
right.
a bachelorette, and a gun is the equalizer. So somebody bigger than me come in my apartment, that equalizes the playing field quickly.
Oh, absolutely. And
So
I absolutely agree with that. I think it's an important fact that a lot of people miss is what happens, when you have a bigger, stronger, a guy who's 6'1", 260. I'm 5'10" and 180, and that would still be a problem for me. I mean, it's not impossible to imagine, and people should. And so these laws aren't helping anyone with that.
exactly, exactly. And so I truly, and you hear story after story of people defending their homes, and like I said, particularly women, because generally speaking, men are bigger and stronger than women. I know women. There's some feminists that hate to hear that, but that's just fact. Um, and it's an equalizer. So in those situations, I would love to see. We don't. You don't. If somebody hits you, you don't have 4 to 6 weeks to wait and see whether or not the man is going to kill you. Restraining orders don't stop abusers from killing you. You see story after story of, especially if you're planning on killing you and then taking themselves out because they're crazy. You see story after story of women who get killed by their domestic partners all the time, and they had a restraining order. A gun takes care of that.
Oh yeah.
So, the whole reason why we were given the Second Amendment was to protect ourselves from the government, but to also protect our property, protect ourselves from others. It's in the Constitution, and what they are doing with the laws, just restricting us more and more, I think it's unconstitutional and not going to prevent what they're setting out to prevent, quite frankly. If they want to prevent school shootings, they want to prevent, domestic violence and things like that, they need to clamp down on the crazy people, just like the shooting the other day.
Yeah.
They need to clamp down on those situations. That man should have never had a gun,
Yeah.
ever, and clearly was not well.
Oh, absolutely. Now, just for everyone to understand, you're talking about the Aurora shooting just outside of Chicago in Illinois, the state with the strongest gun control legislation in the nation, including red flag laws. And none of that prevented him from going crazy and doing what he did, which is a big argument I have. And I am absolutely against red flag laws because they have never been proven. I've done 8 months of study on it. They have never proven to stop a single crazy or criminal person from using a firearm. They have done nothing but break up families. They don't even stop suicides, according to Duke University and the University of Indiana. So that's a big pet peeve of mine. It's one I'm really against.
I mean, I hate to say it, but the bottom line is if someone has it out for you and they really want to get you, they're going to get you. The only thing that you can do is defend yourself with lethal force. That's just how it is. If you do not have the same equal force that makes it a fair fight, then you're in big trouble.
No, that's absolutely true.
That's that's how I see it with the gun law.
Yeah. In Chicago, right now, there's been 28 people in Chicago who have been killed since the beginning of the year, according to the Chicago Tribune. And that's just one issue on it. And there's been 187 people who have been attacked, or shot in Chicago, according to the Chicago Tribune. And they keep track of that. And usually Chicago runs about 2,500 shooting victims every single year. It's ridiculous. And none of these gun controls help them. But one of the ones I was very curious about, and you've kind of answered this already, but I do want to ask, in the Tampa Bay Times, of the 123 gun laws that have been passed in the past year, in New Jersey, there's one that says that it restricts anyone from being able to have a handgun unless they can justify why they should have it. Now, you've already mentioned.
Yeah, I saw that. It's ridiculous. They made it, they implemented a more strict definition of the justifiable need to carry a handgun for private citizens. Are you kidding?
Yeah,
but that's New Jersey. New Jersey's very anti-gun. New Jersey is the same place that has, I don't know if they still have it, but they used to have an equal force law, right. Meaning, if someone comes in my apartment and they don't have a gun, then I can't shoot them. So I'm supposed to say, by the way, Mr. Predator, rapey, murdery guy, are you carrying a knife or a gun or just your bare hands so that I know what it is that I'm supposed to use to defend myself?
Yeah, that's
like it makes absolutely no sense because again, it's not a fair fight. I'm not exactly Mike Tyson, so it's not. It's not a fair fight. It makes absolutely no sense. And for the longest time, tasers were illegal in the state of New Jersey. They just became legalized maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
See, and I know how it feels, by the way, because I'm in New York State, upstate New York, and we've got the SAFE Act done by Governor Cuomo, which has been absolutely ineffective, has not worked at all, but yet criminalizes people for owning, the scary types of firearms. We have now the red flag legislation, which only helps to take away people's property without due process, and it goes further to break up families and take kids away from parents. We have a 30-day, you got to hear this. In New York State, women now have to wait 30 days before they can get a firearm. So assuming that you somehow got the license in New York State, you would have to wait, Melanie, 30 days before you can get that firearm. And that means in that 30 days, you could potentially, God forbid, you're a public figure. That would mean, you could be in a dangerous situation while they're just sitting on it. Not because they have to process anything. They're just sitting on it for 30 days. I would, if I'm a woman, I'm upset about that. As a man, I'm upset about it. But as a woman, I'd be upset about it even more. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. It's you can't wait when you have a crazy person. And the thing is, I don't know. My mother is a domestic violence counselor, and I don't know very many women who, at some point, especially if you're a woman of a certain age, I'll say, hasn't been in a relationship or had that like creepy guy or have a guy threaten you. Maybe he didn't actually hit you, or maybe he, just threatened to hit you. You don't have time to wait for a gun when somebody bigger and stronger than you threatens you. And it's just a lot more prevalent than a lot of people think. I remember this one gentleman one time asked my mother, is domestic violence is it really a thing?
What? That's crazy. That's crazy that he would even think that. I don't know where that.
Yeah, it is.
So
It is.
I think we're establishing pretty well that you and I are very much on the same page when it comes to dealing with the Second Amendment and the rights of people with the Second Amendment, which is not what the Democrats would like us to believe.
Oh, of course. Yeah. They don't. You know, they just, well, they like us to be lockstep with them, but the first thing they do when they want to control you is disarm you. That's, you know, that's the bottom line.
True. That is always the first thing they try and go after is they want to take your firearms and your way to protect yourself from them.
Right. So, you know, the people don't understand the overall agenda and how unreasonable it is to ban guns, to ban any kind of guns. And it's really just a matter of absolute logic. I mean, only the bad guys don't obey laws. It makes absolutely no sense to disarm the good guys. What are you going to do? It's like something like, I don't know, what, 3 million guns on in America or something like that?
350 million.
Like, what? How are you going to get rid of all those guns? Only the bad guys are going to have them. And then what? Then you have absolute tyranny.
Yeah, because the government's the only one who's going to have a firearm at that point. Well, them and criminals.
And meanwhile,
that's it.
Meanwhile, he's protected by all these guns.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it just drives me nuts. And I always like to ask whenever I have any woman who's on the program, I always want to ask them their thoughts about this because I don't think any politician has stopped to actually ask any regular woman, not another politician, but any regular constituent and say, do you think this is going to help make you safer? Because everyone I have ever asked about this goes, well, no, it's not going to make me safer. It won't. It can't. It just boggles my mind. But
nope.
Yeah.
Nope. I agree with you. Yeah. I agree with you. It can't. It cannot make you safer, and it's not going to make anyone safer. It's going to make everyone more vulnerable. And you know, Chicago is Exhibit A, and the studies, by the way, bear that out. Look at Texas. You think they have a problem with carjacking and a high murder rate? No, they do not. You know why? Because they never know who has a gun and who doesn't.
True. Very true. Very true.
Because everybody's carrying. That's why.
Yeah, and that makes it a lot more safe for everyone. Melanie, let me do this. We're going to take a quick break. It's about 3 minutes. And then we're going to come back because I want to talk to you about, your specialty, talking about finances and talking about the economy and discussing a little bit about what we're seeing going forward. And we'll just go into that segment. But we're going to take a quick break. It'll be about 3 minutes, okay?